This is a story about Eric, the all-singing, never-dancing parrot, consisting of Eric the parrot, Pirate Captain Jelly, Chief SIDWAY, and many more. Eric the parrot had a good singing voice, but he couldn't dance. But the customers wanted a singing bird that could do a jig. So before long he found himself in the sale department, being sold off cheaply. Still nobody wanted him until Friday the 13th of May. That hot misty day, the mermaid sailed into port. Captain Jelly and his pirates had arrived. Hello, Parrot, how are you today? Captain Jelly had just come ashore and nearly fell over when Eric replied, Aye, aye, Captain, I'm well. Rusty cutlasses, the bird talks. Do you have a good memory? Not too bad, said Eric truthfully. Captain Jelly stomped into the shop. How much is this scurvy parrot? The shopkeeper's beady eyes flashed. 2 gold coins, Captain. Don't be stupid, man. He's in the sale. I'll give you a silver shilling. Even then I'm being robbed. The shopkeeper nodded. You didn't argue with the pirate. Once on Jelly's ship, Eric discovered he had a very large iron cage stolen from the Pushka of Scaramount, having once housed the Pushka's giant stork. Over the next 3 days, supplies for the ship's journey had arrived, with all the sailors working very hard stowing it in the hold. In their rum breaks, they taught the pirates sea shanties and all the rude words they could remember. On the last night, one of the pirates gave Eric a glass of rum. He liked it, so they gave him more. Lots more. On the 5 o'clock tide, the mermaid slipped out of the harbour, heading for warmer seas. Eric lay at the bottom of his cage, completely inebriated, and that was where he stayed until the South Sea Islands were in sight. The pirates took it in turns to look after Eric, giving him lots of water and fruit. Happy he was on board, but others looked on Eric as a bad omen. Sure, this trip was jinxed. Dropping anchor in the bay on Stoneman Island, they were met by their old looting companion, Chief SIDWAY. Good to see you, Jelly. Tonight we eat and drink in honor of our pasts, also toasting our glorious futures. I'll drink to that, SIDWAY. Men, bring up the barrels of rum now. We've got some serious supping to tackle. Laughing loudly, the 2 men hugged. The first thing Eric saw when the pirates entered the native village was the long table piled with all sorts of amazing-looking food. The second thing was the Stoneman statue, the gigantic stone idol overlooking the whole banquet. Its eyes were black, but set into the forehead was a single red jewel, which flickered constantly, making Eric feel certain the idol was alive. With everyone still talking, the parrot had a little fly round. After being asleep for so many weeks, the tall coconut palms were very cool in the hot afternoon sun. He flew around faster and faster, intoxicated with the freedom, crashing into the belly of a large red bird. Both birds exploded into the palms, gasping for air. Being a small bird, Eric fell through more gaps, landing in an old nest, much to the surprise of the new occupant, a fluffy mouse. Feeling dazed, he flew over a clearing, watching a small girl pointing out to her mother something in the palms. Being a nosy parrot, he had to see what the girl was pointing at, but flying into the tree saw nothing in the shadows. A leaf turned in the breeze, allowing sunlight to light up the gloom. An explosion of bright colours flashed their beauty, then vanished. Eric followed in the direction of the colours, stumbling over an old nest. No mouse this time, but a nest stuffed with jewels. On the top of the pile lay a green stone on a chain. Picking this up, he flew down to the girl. She laughed, then cried, then sat on the ground smiling at the necklace. Her mum was holding small pieces of fruit in her fingers, offering them to Eric, waving him over. Gently stroking the parrot's head, the girl talked softly. Still feeling dazed, this wonderful treatment quickly sent him into a deep sleep. When he woke up, it was dark, Panicking, he wondered if he could ever find his way back to the pirates. If he could follow the sound of the tom-toms beating into the night, he was sure this was something to do with the banquet. There was always dancing and drums banging at these get-togethers. Flying over the clearing, Eric saw the long table, but all the seats around the table were empty. Jelly and his men had gone, even though piles of food were still in place. "Eric! Eric! Over here, bird! Quickly now!" ordered Jelly's rough tone. The captain's face was pressed against the bars of a prison hut. "They think one of us has nicked the red jewel from the idol. We didn't. Now look around. See what you can find, but be quick. We're about to have some food and some sort of trial. A witch doctor from the next village has been summoned to find the truth and produce the thief. Good luck, bird." Some of the villagers had arrived, sitting at the long table, chatting and enjoying the fantastic food, the little girl among them. With a scream, many took cover under the table as a flock of big red birds descended on the food. The men drove the birds away, many flying off with shiny items from the tabletop. Eric knew at that moment the big red birds had stolen the idol's jewel. Being very nosy, it was easy to follow the flock, and they all roosted in the same giant palm. After a lot of chattering and shrieking, the red birds started to settle for the night. They were a dirty lot and left all kinds of rubbish at the base of the palm. Old food, feathers, twigs, rubbish fallen from the nest above. It was here that Eric found the red jewel, simply sitting on top of a pile of rubbish. A rat tried to drag it off, but the parrot took it from the rodent, who showed its teeth and spat, but couldn't do anything as Eric flew off with the stone. Gliding over the village, he saw Jelly and his men eating what could well be their last supper. All eyes were on the tall witch doctor, now shouting and pointing at the pirates, shaking strange items at the men while dancing in jerky movements. Eric didn't like the look of this islander and squawked loudly. Realizing too late he was holding the red jewel in his beak. The red stone fell like a comet, flaring, flickering, seemingly alive with a fiery violence, a curse from the gods, striking the witch doctor on the top of his towering head mask. The jewel of doom rebounded onto the table, landing on top of an angry-looking pig's head, sending the apple from its mouth flying into a pile of bread fruit. Eric swooped onto the red jewel, plucking it from the food, turned in midair and flew up to the idol's head. All the villagers started clapping as the little bird replaced the red stone, and he did a dance of honor on the idol's head. "Good old Eric, you've saved us all," shouted Jelly. "Extra rum, rations for you, bird." Eric looked down at everyone dancing, singing and enjoying themselves and muttered, "I'd rather have a nice cup of tea."